Hello YouTube and welcome back to the Loose Transistor channel. I'm your host Lucas and today I have another build and review video for you guys on the 6-inch Hyphy Noir. This is going to be an entirely blacked out stealth build. You guys will see what I'm talking about when we actually get to it. This is going to be a shorter build video because I'm not going to be going into as much detail on the frame build and so on because I've already done that for the 5-inch version of the Hyph in orange. See this guy right here. So if you're curious as to how the frame goes together, watch that video. I explain everything in detail there. Here we're just going to be doing the build itself, and then we'll be doing some tuning, the Maiden, all that good stuff. So I hope you guys stick around and subscribe to the channel because there will be more content. Speaking of more content, in the next few weeks I hope to have a review of this guy. Check it out. So I'll be doing a full video on the Tyvo Tarantula, which I got to start doing some 3D printing for quads and so on, and I'll be doing a full review on that. Might even put a little bit of a build video up because that's pretty hilarious. Me and my wife trying to build a 3D printer. It was pretty funny. Yeah, we ended up actually building it twice. But it works now, and that noise that you hear in the background, that's it. So I will try to tune that out with some notch filters in post-production. But if not, I do apologize. I put some music in the background, so hopefully it's less annoying. And let's get cracking on this build. Alright guys, so before we get cracking on the actual build, let's talk a little bit about the parts that we have selected for the Hyph Noir. So we have the 6-inch Hyph frame, which you're familiar from the past builds. It's a really strong, sturdy frame. I love the way it flies. It's my favorite freestyle quad right now is my Hyphy 5-inch, so I'm hoping that the Hyphy 6-inch is going to be even better. I just wanted something nice, big, with a lot of punch, and that flew quietly, and I wanted to stealth it out and make it all blacked out, and I'll talk to you guys about what I mean by that very shortly. So I have the frame pretty much set up here, and controlling this whole show I have a DTFC flight controller, which is, I've used it on the other Hyph as well, and I found that I was able to get everything to fit using the DTFC, and not to mention the fact that once soft mounted, the DTFC is badass. This thing is super freaking smooth. Now that the weather's getting nicer, I'll have both of these builds flying a lot more, and I'll try to get some video of just how smooth these things really are. We will of course be doing a tuning on this guy too, and a few other things later on. So that covers the frame and the flight controller. I'm going to be using for the ESCs, I'm going to be using the trusty DYS XS D30 amp ESCs. I've used this in quite a few builds. Runs D-Shot 600 up to 5S. Just really solid ESC. I've had prop strikes, no issues. So I've actually yet to burn one of these DYS, both the D-Shot version and the regular version. So excellent ESCs. For the motors, drivetrain, I have some black DYS 2205 2300 Race Edition. So these are very similar to the motors that I actually ended up with on the 5-inch version, except these are 2550s and they are sort of goldy. So again, I wanted to keep the power band more towards the middle and not so much in the top band because this is a freestyle quad, so I went with the 2300 2205s. I know this should pack the punch that I'm looking for. So that covers motors. As always, I am using Foxier HS1177 because the HS1177 is just what I love to use. I have yet to find a camera that has better light handling than this, and I'm a stickler for latency, so I want my latency to be as low as possible. I know that the Eagle and a few of the other higher resolution cameras do have some decent light handling, but that extra 20 milliseconds worth of delay time is not something I'm willing to deal with. So HS1177 all the way until something else that is comparable in terms of performance, and by performance I mean latency. So to send all that video over to my goggles, I am using the trusty FX799T 600 milliwatt. 600 milliwatt because this is going to be a freestyle quad. I'll mostly be flying it alone, and if I'm flying it with a bunch of other guys, we can just keep our channel separate enough. But it's not a racing quad. I'm not going to be racing it with a bunch of other guys, like trying to split channels and all that. So 600 milliwatt is perfectly fine. Of course, we'll be using the Radio Link receivers because that's what I fly, and that pretty much covers it in terms of parts, guys. We'll be using, of course, some capacitors and all that, but we'll get to it when we get to it. So actually, let's get started with building. So let's tin the FC and get it ready to receive the battery wires and all that good stuff, and then we'll go from there. So just remove the orange nuts here. Okay, so I removed the FC, and there's some O-rings in here because, as I said, I'm going to be soft mounting it. because that's what I do with the TTFCs. It does a really, really good job. I've already gone ahead and drilled out the flight controller. As you can see there, the holes are much bigger than they are normally. So I recommend you do that as well if you're going to be soft mounting, because you don't want them touching the standoffs in any way. A few modifications that I made from the standard Hyph is that I'm using really, really long screws on the second slot right here, and I'm not using the provided nut. I'm just using a nylon nut that's going to have the FC on top and then locked it on another nylon nut. That's what I did on the other 5-inch, and that worked for me because I needed as much clearance from the top as I could so that I could fit the video transmitter, right? So there's not a lot of space there. I could use dollar standoffs, but I'm trying to keep it stock as much as possible. So what I can do is change things like the nuts here and change the height of the whole game. So I'm actually going to tin this thing while it's on the frame, just like that, and I'll just rotate it around because it'll be easier. So let's get ready to tin. So it's been a few weeks since I posted my video about the Beaver SX and all the awesome Transport Canada rules that have come into play. So this is the Beaver SX, if you haven't seen yet. This is 105 grams of battery, so it's completely under the 350 gram limit that Transport Canada has set for you to be able to just fly these things anywhere. However, I have been flying my 5-inch around near the park near my house, and I honestly had no problems. Cops have been there, they've seen me fly. Nobody seems to care. So perhaps the reaction was a little bit overblown, and perhaps Transport Canada is just trying to lay down the groundwork so that they can catch the guys that are being really dangerous. However, we're going to keep an eye on the situation, and hopefully they come out with some more lenient or more reasonable regulations so that we can all feel safe and legal while we do our hobby. Because I hate feeling like a criminal for doing something that is literally harming no one. Alright, so our soldering iron's warm. Let's get cracking with putting some beads here on the flight controller. So I'm just going to pad the ESC pad. Okay, I got the ESC pads. I'm actually going to bridge. There's a tiny little jumper over here that activates the 5-volt rail for the pin headers, so I'm just going to do that real quick here. Having some trouble getting it there. There we go. So the 5-volt has been activated. Let's keep putting the tin on. So we've gotten the flight controller tin, just outside pads, and we put the jumper on the 5-volt rail right over here in the corner, just a tiny little bead. So let's get ready with some battery wires here. Aha! Remember how I told you guys that I wanted this to be a blacked out build, right? Well, it's gonna start with the battery wires, because I'm only gonna be using black wires on the whole thing. So I'm going with 12 gauge wire here because I usually try to match whatever my batteries have, and my batteries are all bunk because they all have that. So, okay, so we got 2 wires there, 2 black wires, cut to size. These are going to be the battery wires. They're going to be both the positive and the negative. So I'm going to have to keep really good track of what wires are going where. Okay, let's tin these wires and get them set up on the pads, and let's get ready with some capacitor here. Alright, our Hyph Noir is starting off really nicely with two nice black power cables here. So I'm just going to try and turn them on, make sure that the FC starts up, and then we'll go from there. So I just have these two leads over here. They're connected to my bench power supply set to about 14 volts right now, and minus and the plus. Boom, we're good. So just started up, no problems. They're looking great. So to avoid this problem later on, I am gonna start marking my negative wires with something. Give me a sec, I'll be right back. I'm gonna use zip ties to mark the positives. Just little red zip ties around the wire, like such. That'll let me know that that's the positive wire, and that won't cause any confusion, and I can just move on and not worry too much about it. So there you go, positive wire, boom. Easy peasy. Cool. So let's keep moving around here. So now I should probably add the capacitor and then figure out the rest of the build. Let's try to figure out this capacitor. If you're sitting there at home wondering where did he get these like amazing orange standoffs, holy crap, those are so cool. I didn't get them anywhere. I made them. You just buy the regular clear standoffs, and then you dye them with a RIT dye. There's a video on the channel if you're curious. It shows exactly how to do it. It takes like literally fucking 10 minutes. So definitely something you can do at home. Same with these zip ties. They were actually not red before, they were clear, and I dyed them and they look awesome. So happy with that. Alrighty, so here we go. So basically the game here is just to bend the legs here until I can get it to fit the way I want. What I'm trying to do here, just so you can take a better look, is so I'm fitting it so that the wire is in between the legs, and I'm pushing it all the way in there, and the leg here is going to touch, so the negative is going to touch there, the positive is going to touch here. So I'm just going to try and get that fitted and soldered there, and if I can get it right, it should be good. Okay, so, where are we? Ah, there we go. Focus. Okay, so we got the negative here soldered to the negative lead right there, so now I'm just gonna bend and solder the positive. Have the capacitor mounted, we have the battery cable mounted, and I can remove this and put it back on pretty much any time, which is great. Positive lead is marked, positive lead is correct. Let's cut this extra lead here. Excellent. So we got our capacitor mounted. That's looking good. Happy with that. Perfect. Okay, so ESCs, let's take a look. So as I said earlier in the video, I'm a very big fan of the UYS XSD 30 amp. These are super solid ESCs. They've actually come out with a second version of it now too, that is thinner than the old one, and it doesn't have the heatsink anymore. So I'm wondering if they've just found a better way to manage that, because if you check out the 5-inch version of the Hyph, it has a big heatsink like the old UYS ESCs had. Even though it's D-shot and everything else, this is just the first generation. So the newer generation ones are even smaller and lighter, and they reduce the size of the motor tabs a little bit. check this out. I have an odd one out here. I have an odd man out. See, so this guy here is an old one. I have another one here, so I'm just gonna replace it with that one. But you see what I mean now. Okay, so we have our 4 ESCs here, as I was saying, and what we're gonna do to these today is remove the clear shrink tubing stuff here, and we're gonna replace the red wire with black wire, and we're not gonna apply dry drone because I don't have any. Seriously. So this is gonna be a fair weather bird only, sadly. I haven't had any dry drone in a little while. Most of the vendors around here are sold out, so that's just too bad for me, I guess. But I don't know. That is life. There we go. I think I have a bunch of ESC wires. Use the same gauge. Yes, perfect. These will do perfectly well. All right, so let's get cracking on releasing these from their skins and go from there. So I'm basically just going to desolder the red wires and put new black wires on. And let's tin these first so that we can speed up the process. You might be asking yourself, why did I decide to change all the wires to black? And what's with this stealth build? Well, I wanted to do a full black build for a little while. However, somebody pointed out on one of my other videos that I had soldered a red wire to a ground pad on my review of the TS100, and apparently it was driving them nuts. So I decided to go all black so that there would be lots of that happening. All right, we're at temperature here. Let's get this thing going. Boom, one more, and we're done. Wait a minute. I'm missing the black wire. Oh, there we go. Oh no, here it is. Sweet. Look at that. It's working out better than I expected. It's gonna look awesome. Cool. Alright, so before we finish here and call it quits, let's put some shrink tubing back on. Another thing that I noticed about the new DYS is that there's definitely some sort of coating on them that you can see how shiny they are, right? So I feel like that's almost like some conformal or something that they're putting it on the factory itself, and I'm wondering if that doesn't negate having to use any sort of conformal itself. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll run some tests on that later by accidentally landing on a puddle, but yeah, it looks like there's some sort of shiny film that covers the whole thing. And I noticed that the first generation ones, the ones with the heat sinks, don't actually have that at all. So my bet is that they started doing conformal because they've managed to bring the temperature down, and they can use some cheaper conformal or something like that doesn't melt off. I don't fucking know. That's just my crazy theory. So if you have a better theory as to why these things are now shiny and they weren't before, write down a comment below. I'm very curious to know if you have an answer for this. So let's see, what are we gonna do? I was thinking about actually blacking the whole thing out and putting actual black shrink tubing on it, but I'm kind of thinking that it's pretty blacked out already. Maybe I'll just put the clear ones back on and call it a day with that. So I'm just gonna put the shrink tubing back on these guys and meet you guys back here for the rest of the build. So we got the ESCs here, and I just put just enough covering to like not allow any of the pins or anything to touch the frame, but that's just about it. So now we're ready to start mounting things to the frame. So what I'm gonna do first is mount the motors, and then we'll worry about mounting the ESCs. So let's take a look here. All right, so let's start with one of these motors. So first I like to just put the all four very loose just to grab it, and I center it in, and then I torque them in a star pattern. And I find that gives me the best results, and make sure that the pressures on all the screws are nice and even. I already need more blue Loctite. Then I just check it out, make sure that I'm centered in there and it's not too off. That looks pretty good. All right, there we have it, guys. Look at that. Looks really nice and all black. It's gonna be a mean looking build. All right, let's get the ESCs attached, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we've gotten DSCs and the motors installed there, and right now it looks like a freaking dog's breakfast, but we'll clean it all up, cut the wires to size and everything else, and start getting it soldered. So let's just put this down and cut some things here to size, just so that they're not so fucking stupid long. Alright guys, so we're just gonna cut some wires here real quick, just to get them a little bit shorter. I already cut the motor wires a little bit. I'm just gonna take these connectors off. I know this is more wire than I need, but you can always cut twice. You can't make the wire grow back again. Cool. So while that does its thing over here, I'm gonna worry about getting these motor wires connected here. So we'll start with any random corner here. Let's start with this guy maybe. I'll just cut it to size. I was gonna do something fancy with the wires, but honestly, it's not worth it, man. If you have to change the motors and anything like that, it's just a pain in the ass, so I'm just gonna wire them straight and not worry too much about it. There we go, one set cut. Let's move on to the next one. So I've decided lately that I just do my wires straight. I don't try to do hardware reversal of the motors because it doesn't seem to be an issue anymore. And I'm very curious to see about this new BL Heli that's coming out, the closed source version of it. I wonder what kind of goodies and what kind of performance you can get out of those. Excellent. So let's tin these wires and get them soldered on, and that will get us a little bit closer to being done. Only thing I couldn't find in all black were XC60s because I ran out of the black ones. So I'm going to use the yellow one here. I might throw a bit of electrical tape around it or something because I am determined to make this quad as black as I can. So let's get going here. Hopefully that doesn't take long to warm up the iron here. Just trying to be a little bit more careful about the centering of the board here because since I widened the screw holes. Cool. Since we're right here, let's get the motor wires soldered down. Oh, they're winding perfectly. Same there, perfect. Nice. Solid, perfect. Let's move on to the next one. Just tin the wires real quick again. Make sure you don't melt any other wires while you're doing this. This one is not as pretty as the other one, but it's there. Boom. One more to go. Perfect. So our motors are wired. And that is awesome news, because we can now worry about wiring just the ESCs. So let's get going with the signal wire. Sorry, not the signal wires. Let's get going with the power wires for the ESCs first, and then we will do the signal wires afterwards. So positive leads are over here. They're marked with the red zip tie. And so let's see here. So positive here is pretty trivial. It's just going to go up like that. I'm going to start cutting these wires to what I believe to be the right size. I'm going to start soldering them. I'm going to take this one at a time, just because I want to be careful since I'm working with only black wires. Okay, here we go. Tend to tip here. So now comes the tricky part, getting it to sit where we want it. Well, this one was not bad at all. We have our first power wire in, which is a good sign. Alright folks, so now we're just going to do a quick little test with the power supply unit here. Make sure we get a tone and no smoke. Excellent. There we go. Everything is working as it should. And we're ready to wire the signal wires. But first I think I'm going to put on the the receiver, and we'll do these wires right here. So let me grab one of the receivers that I got here. I really don't know what's up with the music right now. I am listening to Glitchy's playlist because I am a terrible picker of music. So I just listen to whatever I find out there that sounds pretty good to me. And this stuff is alright, but I don't know what this is. Alright, here we go. Signal wire going in. And now power. Boom, power. And finally ground. Perfect. So we have the wires soldered. Let's do one more test here and power it up. Excellent. So we have power here. I'm going to switch it to S bus, and I'm just going to grab my radio here because I just want to pair it right now so they don't have to do it here. This is a brand new receiver, so it's not paired. And I'm not doing my usual dry drone application, so I'm not applying. I'm not taking it apart and shit. Okay, so here we go. Set it to bind. Turn on the radio. Come on. There we go. Bound. Perfect. Excellent. Okay, now that we have the radio in place and we've tested things, and I'm pretty happy with how everything is coming along so far, what I am going to do is put the nuts, put all the O-rings in, tighten down the nuts, make sure that everything stays where I want it to stay, and then I think I'll start wiring the ESC signal wires, and then I'm going to put the XT60 on because I'll have to go and flash BioHeli and make sure that everything's spinning in the right directions, and then we'll do the video system because the video system is easy and I like to do the last. So here we go. So let's power it up and see if we get the right tone. Excellent. So we're good here. So let's put the XT60 on this guy, and we're almost done. Here's my XT60. Boom. Okay. So let's take a look here. What do I want this to be? There we go. No magic smoke. Yeah. So black wiring achievement unlocked. Now I am just gonna go over there and take care of adjusting some of the parameters that I like to do before I move on and do the rest of the build. So check back in just a minute. Alright guys, so the last time I left off, I was going to go and flash the ESCs and get that stuff all sorted out. I had some really shitty problems when I did that, and the reason being, when you flash ESCs with Betaflight 3.1.7, be very careful because you might end up with some dead ESCs. It happened to me, it happened to a couple other people at the FPV chat, and I was talking to Noir at Beaver FPV, and he told me he heard a few reports of that problem as well. So do not flash your ESCs on 3.1.7. 3.1.6 is fine. So what happened was I flashed my ESCs in 3.1.7, just like I always do, put it to the latest BL Heli, and set the settings to the rotations that I wanted. When I rebooted it, only 2 would spin up when I armed the quad. And I was like, what the hell? So I tried to connect with it to BL Heli again, and neither of those ESCs would respond anymore. I isolated them off, powered them up, there was no powering tone at all. So basically the flashing was corrupted on those 2, and I could not recover it. I sent those back to Norm at Beaver, and he's gonna take a look. He has a few other tools that I don't have access to. He might be able to flash them back to BL Heli, and then he'll send them back to me. Luckily I had some spares, so I switched them around, and we're good to go now. Everything is spinning the way that it should, everything is working, and I have downgraded to Betaflight 3.1.6. Why? Because that's what my other quads are running, and that's great, and I don't have problems flashing ESCs, and whenever something like that happens, I get a little bit skittish and I take a step back. So 3.1.6 is what we're going to be running on the Hyphy Noir, or the Hyph Noir. The other thing I did is I put a little cover here, just because I wanted to make it look all cool and blacked out. Yes, it is hot glue because my screws weren't quite long enough, but that was by design anyway. I wanted to get a really, really short stack, and I've succeeded. So now we have the wiring for the VTX to go, and then just close up this thing, and we're pretty much ready to rock. So let's take a look here. There's my killer camera. We have a Foxeer camera here that I have already installed, a 1.8 millimeter camera. I have not, however, tuned it, so let's do that really quick here. I have a little screen. Pop that up here. And now let me grab my multitude of stupid cables. You guys be able to see as well there? There we go. Maybe if I put it like that. Okay, perfect. So all I gotta do here is connect batteries. Okay. I'm using a Fat Shark cable, a Fat Shark battery here to power the camera. Cool, there we go. Excellent. Now let's fire up the camera. Okay, so there you have it. I'm sure you can't really see very well in the video there, but it is fairly fuzzy. So what I like to do is point it to one of the posters in my house, something with writing, and then mess around with it until I'm pretty happy. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. It's worse. 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 Okay. Give it a really good crank so it stays in there. Boom. So yeah, that's just how I do my cameras. I don't use the test pad or anything like that, but there we go. Looks pretty good. There are you guys. All right, so camera's ready. Let's unplug all this mess. So from here on out, things should be fairly simple. You just need to mount the camera and connect the wires. Oh yes, the wires. I don't know why this crap always comes with this freaking ginormous servo lead here for the camera. Like, come on. Like, I know you can get the cables yourself and you can just make it yourself, but it's just so annoying. What I always do is I always use the stupid ones from the cameras themselves. Alright, so we've got the camera settings set up for my liking, how I like things to show up, and now we're just gonna get this thing set up here. So we have the head there. I'm just gonna put the camera on, set it up where I want it. Not a huge fan of these aluminum stand thingies here, but they seem to work alright. So let's just get some screws here, get that set up. Interesting. It's gonna be a tight squeeze here, as always. As you can see there, let's see, there's barely enough space between the camera and the top plate. So I'm basically gonna have to solder it as it is there. It should not be a problem. So let's get this set up. Just realizing that changing channels is going to be virtually impossible here. I'm barely going to be able to see what I'm doing. Actually, not terrible, not terrible. Okay. So if we hold this guy here, trying to figure out what the best way would be to fit this guy in here. Yeah, it's gonna have to be something like this. Okay, just before we go ahead and close everything, I'm just gonna turn it on real quick, set it to a channel, and make sure that I'm getting video. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so we got some mountain tape here. I want to use the as thin as possible because again, height is a concern here. So here we go, some mountain tape. And how much do we need? Roughly that much. Okay, so we got two here of roughly the same size. I just gotta put it here. I already have this thing set up to like my favorite channel, race band 1, whatever. Doesn't really matter. And I'm most likely going to be flying it alone, so I'm not too concerned about the fact that it's going to be difficult to change channels on it because, yeah, I don't really care. I'll make you change channels. But yeah, I'm not a racing machine, so I'm not concerned. Cool. So, just to work out as planned, has to be there. Alrighty, so I've stuck it down. I'm gonna hope it holds. This guy here. Yep, let's stick it right there. Okay, let's try. Oh yeah, that looks nice. Excellent, here we go. Here's some big, intimidating props. Cool. Alright, let's throw a strap on this thing. Get it ready to rock. I'm partial to these ones here with the rubberized bottoms. I don't know, I like them. So all you gotta do here to get this threaded through is grab a little pincer to pull everything up as it goes by. Basically just need to guide it in. Go. And we do the same thing the other side. This way is a lot easier to go in. So changing the battery on the Hyph is super easy, at least I find. So there you go. Now you have a nice little surface there to put the battery against and it won't move. So let's get ready to test it indoors here real quick. So there we have it, guys. We just finished building the Hyph 6-inch. This thing looks awesome, all murdered out in black. Like, take a look at that. Looks so freaking mean. So I can't wait to get actually out there and fly this thing, do a proper Maiden, and you know, do the tuning and all that. Unfortunately, the weather's not great today, so I won't be able to do it today. So I'm releasing the build video as it is. And in the next couple days, you can look forward to a proper Maiden and the tuning video on the 6-inch, because I've never tuned a 6-inch before. But I can already tell this thing is going to fly pretty damn awesome. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out any of this cool stuff. And of course, as I said, there will be some 3D printing stuff coming pretty soon, just because it's interesting. So I hope you enjoyed the show.